but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is Fans Forum, your chance to pop on the show and have your say. And the World Cup is finally over. Messi finally got his hands on the golden trophy. Well deserved. Great final. Both the star players turning up, with Messi obviously winning the trophy, but Mbappe doing his bit with a fantastic hat-trick. The second person now, of course, to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final. Didn't have the opportunity, though, that Sir Geoff Hurst did to pick up the golden trophy this time. But all in all, a good World Cup. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. And if you want to pop on and talk about it, let us know. I'll chuck this one out there. Penalties. What's your thoughts? Do penalties settle a World Cup final? Is it really fair to go through all of that qualification, then the whole tournament, to get to the final, to then have it decided by penalties? I was always more of a fan of the golden goal. Didn't last very long. I still think a golden goal would still settle the game just as well. Wouldn't put the onus or the pressure on those people who have to step up and take a penalty and miss it. It's an interesting debate, but let us know what you think in the chat. And as I say, pop on. The link is in the chat, pinned to the top, and it's in the description. You just need to click on that, come through the studio, and we will get you on. Tom Lynch did see your comment in there. I have sent you a message on Twitter, mate. I haven't had time to check to see whether you got it, but I did send you Amanda's number from Shambles Travels. Not sure if she's running a course to Sheffield, but if she is, she will be able to accommodate you, I'm sure, mate. And if you struggle with that one, I'll try and find a few others. Anybody else has got any bus or coach recommendations, then drop them in the chat. Obviously, you only post a number if the number is in the public domain. Don't post somebody's phone number in the chat. If it's not, give Tom a follow on Twitter and maybe drop him a DM on there. Plenty of other things to talk about. I did manage to do a little review of Eddie Howe's press conference, which you can watch separately, but I will go over some of the talking points. And ASM is clearly, not going to struggle playing tomorrow. I don't think. It's whether he is selected, I think, is probably going to be more of an issue. But he was asked if ASM was fully fit. And, the answer was, with regards to injury, just wait and see. Some injuries look worse, at the time, but then as days go by, players look okay. So he was very, very cautious about giving away anything about tomorrow, and rightly so. Asked about Bruno and Wilson and Isak. He said Bruno's fine and Wilson's fine. No issues with either of them. They just needed a little bit more time. Trippier and Pope were desperate to play in the friendly at the weekend. So that answered that question. Also asked about Isak, which of course has been the focus of everyone's attention over the last couple of days, with rumours that he probably won't be fit until January. Just basically said that they're taking their time with him, and I think that's what you want to hear. You want to hear that they're not going to rush somebody back, aggravate an injury, and then he's out for the rest of the season. So that they're just taking their time with Isak. Nothing to be concerned about, and at some point, he will get his opportunity like everybody else, but they're assessing him day by day. He did reiterate later on in the press conference to Craig Hope that there is no problem at all with Wilson. So no problems whatsoever with Callum Wilson. And one would imagine if he doesn't start tomorrow, then he certainly will be on the bench. He was also delighted that Gareth Southgate had said that he was staying on with England because it meant that he wasn't going to get asked the question if he was going to take the England job. Which, no doubt he would have faced that kind of question and had Gareth Southgate delayed his decision. Also asked about the cup competition. He said that they are going to treat this, or they are treating it and have been treating it like a Premier League game. The strongest team possibly will be put out tomorrow, and that, he is very conscious of history. And the fact that Newcastle haven't won a domestic trophy since 1955 or a European trophy since 1969. And that ultimately, from his perspective, he's using that, subtly, with the players, and the players are fully aware of, the fact that the club hasn't won a trophy for so long. So, one of those situations which can be used to, to get the best performances out of players. And I think Also emphasising, as he usually does, how important the crowd is at St James's Park and how important the crowd has been. Spoke very highly of Newcastle's supporters, not only having this game sold out with 3 weeks to go, but then also having a friendly at the weekend where 34,000 supporters turned up, which was quite remarkable. And then on top of that, just referring back to the Chelsea game, where he said that the atmosphere was superb, how much of an influence it had on the team. But he said it's a two-way street, that the club and the players have to perform on the pitch sometimes to get that kind of reaction. And I thought, once again, he handled himself fantastically well in the press conference, as he always does. He also was asked about Lee Ryder, saying that, some people haven't taken this competition seriously. Has he always done so? Well, of course, he said he had. But also said that, people were talking, and Lee was talking about some people saying that this trophy should be binned, that it's not a trophy which is very exciting, doesn't get great attendances, etc. But he said it's very important for especially for Newcastle at this moment in time, where they're going through the momentum and they're trying to become a force to be reckoned with. And he said I guess he says when you're in Europe, that it's a different ball game because you've got more games to play, whereas this is quite a useful competition for teams that don't have Europe to worry about. So a lot of emphasis on the fact of how aware this is, and then just a reiteration that it's he was aware of the history of the club not winning trophies. They do use it because it's a powerful motivation, but that they don't over-egg it, and that the players are aware too. Also talked a little bit about Enzo Fernandez, because Alan Shearer, of course, had recommended that Enzo Fernandez was a player that Newcastle looked at. Eddie Howe, rather tongue-in-cheek, said he was watching the other side. And Keith Downey did say that if Lionel Messi was available in January, would it be a name he would add to his list? And he went, "My God, don't start that rumour off." Also asked about the Christmas celebrations. Would the players be getting together and celebrating Christmas at some point? He said that they'd already had a couple of Christmas celebrations behind the scenes, but they were now fully focused on getting their selves back into the swing of things, regaining the momentum. Something he emphasized a few times in the press conference: regaining the momentum, re-establishing the momentum, and getting into the competitive games and start winning games again. Because essentially that's what we were doing before the season came to an impromptu end for the World Cup. On top of all of that, there was further confirmation when he was speaking to Simon O'Rourke from ITV that we have played another two games behind closed doors, which of course adds to the one that we played against Middlesbrough behind closed doors. We played in Riyadh. We played the game at the weekend. But the other games against unknown opposition, said that he could see now that we were physically ready for the restart in competitive games. He said the break for him and the players had been weird, but they've got to adapt. And he did say that he hoped it hasn't affected us, because there is no way of knowing until we start kicking a ball around again as to how it's affected the players. But I guess the friendly that we had at the weekend would have given us a bit of an insight into how it's affected some and how and how it's affected others. Luke Edwards was asking him about Bruno in particular. Just asked him the one question, and how he was after probably a disappointing World Cup, and how there'd been a little bit of criticism, leveled at him by the Brazilian press. And he said that Bruno was fine and he was focused on the job ahead at Newcastle. Craig Hope also asked him about the World Cup and players that he may have seen, and were the players that he might, look to pick up from the World Cup in the January transfer window. And he said, quite simply, that no player will be signed on a World Cup alone. He says nobody signs, a player just by a display in a 4-week World Cup. He says because you have to analyze players, you have to analyze what they're like on and off the pitch, and that takes a lot longer than 4 weeks. And he's he basically said that from his perspective, that wouldn't be the case. Might be different with other people, of course. Again, Ian Murter from the Daily Star was interested to see who he was going to play with regards to the team tomorrow night. I mean, he's never going to answer that question. I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for Ian, but he's never going to answer the question who's going to play tomorrow. Wait and see is more or less what he came back and said. And also said he would be desperate to put out his strongest team. So that's really what we want to hear. No real transfer news as such. Jordan Cronin asked him a bit about Karius. Again, a little bit of fishing, which journalists do. Will Karius start tomorrow night? He went, well, he's got as much chance of starting as the other goalkeepers. And then asked him, well, any progress on his contract? And the answer was, no. There hasn't been any further progress, but talks will be ongoing, and decisions will need to be made with regards to that. I didn't catch the name of the journalist who asked him about the training facilities, but he was asked, what were the training facilities improving? What was was the noticeable the work that had been done behind the scenes? And he said, yes, it is, and admitted that they've now got a new dining area where the players are all eating together, which is great. So the little changes behind the scenes will of course make a lot of difference to the first team at this moment in time. But that's it in essence. Eddie's press conference was 20 minutes long. I do like to do a little a little update, so keep an eye on them. I'll do them up until the end of the season. Like I said, this is your show. Jump on if you want to. We've got Darren in the green room, and here he is. Good evening, Darren.
Hello, Paul. How's it going?
All right, mate. Not too bad. Now, you weren't at the game, were you, at the weekend? I think I seen on Twitter. You decided to watch it on NUFC TV.
Yeah, I just watched what I was watching at home, but I watched it. But ESM, I've never been more convinced he's not a team player. He does too much on the ball. He just doesn't release it, and that's the way he's going to go on in a friendly. Eddie Howe doesn't like that. You want players to work for the ball and pass the ball, and I'm not an ESM fan. I think we need to get rid of him.
It's interesting because I was sitting with the lads, sitting with Steve Hasty and the guys at the weekend, and that was a topic of conversation as we were coming out the ground. I personally didn't think he had a very good game at all. I thought the first half it was better than the second. I was disappointed, really, and I think he would have been disappointed as well. I tell you what it looks like to me, Darren. It looks very much like he's trying to change the way that he plays, and it's very difficult to do that when you've played that way all your life. We all know that, probably the biggest criticism fans leveled at him in particular was that he would get into positions and where he should have laid the ball off, he would try and shoot and would waste an opportunity. Now what he tries to do, he gets into these positions, and now when he should be passing and laying the ball off, his selection's wrong. He's making the wrong decisions, and I think almost like he is trying his best. He's not rolling around on the floor and all the histrionics as much. I just think he's struggling, mate.
I feel he's on trial on Eddie, and everything he's doing is just, yourself. It just doesn't look good. It's just he's not doing nothing. Or he played well, or I don't know. Just something's not right with him, and I think he's like that. On the Bruce, he was the main man. As you would say, can he have not been the main man anymore? And the team would do anything for or keep him happy. We've got team players now, and I just don't think he can be a team player. That's how I watch him. Because even if you drop now, like not playing, you're like, well, not too bad. Well, somebody else will do a better job.
It's interesting that you say, from your perspective anyway, that he's not a team player. I think when you've played in a certain way, it's very difficult to get out of that habit, and I think that's half his problem. He's struggling to adapt, and I think you hit the nail on the head with regards to he was a star player, but now he's not the star player anymore, and I think that's going to affect him as well. So from my perspective, I just think he'll never be able to change the way he plays. And I do think he'll end up being surplus to requirements. And I know that's not what younger fans want to hear, because he's, the young fans, that's been their hero for the last 2 or 3 seasons. And I know what it was like when Peter Beardsley and Gaza left. And I mean, that was when Newcastle was a selling club. When Chris Waddle left, it was disappointing. So I can understand the younger supporters who think, and some on social media make it quite clear, they think we bully ASM on here. We don't. We've got an opinion on a player, and we've been around a hell of a lot longer. We can see what we've seen with players gone by. I've mentioned ASM in the same breath as Kieran Dyer. I think he's very similar to Dyer in the sense that Dyer looked great in a poor team, but when you put him in with good players, he didn't look half the player, and that's the difference. Newcastle have got better players in the ASM now, and I think that's why he struggles. We've been having this conversation on this platform since we started the show 2 years ago about ASM, and even when even pre-takeover, I wasn't a huge ASM fan, but I can see the flip side of bringing him on as an impact player, and he can certainly change a game. But I don't dislike him. And I'd love him to be able to fit in. I just don't think he can demand a starting place in his current form, Darren.
Yeah, I totally agree with Steve. Because I don't know. He doesn't look when he's in the starting team. You watch his attitude on the pitch, and he doesn't do the simple stuff right.
Yeah,
like you watch how much players track out of position, how much they work hard.
Yeah.
Can you see ESM doing that? Me personally, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not having to go there, man. I think in the past he's been a good player, but that was a different regime. But now it's a total different kettle of fish because anyhow, once it's about 11 players out there who stand up for the team and work hard as a team. I just don't think he.
I mean, you watched it on TV, so you're in the hands of the person who's covering the game, the director of the cameras on that day. I watched ESM a hell of a lot on Saturday to give an honest opinion about him, and I genuinely thought he had a decent first half, but the second half I thought he went completely off the boil. Maybe it was because he was carrying a knock. We're talking about it today in Eddie Howe's press conference that he had a little knock, and was he struggling a little bit? But ultimately, for me, I just don't think I don't think he'll start tomorrow. I'll be very surprised if he does. I think he'll be on the bench.
It was a spell in the second half. He was amazing me at Cambridge when we played Cambridge in the FA Cup, how he kept on holding the ball and he wouldn't release it. And he ended up getting tackled and getting a free kick, or he lost the ball.
Yeah.
A few times I say, no, we've done that a few times. What I've seen, like when I was watching it.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I would agree, mate. I would agree. I think from my perspective, I just hope that he can pick up and then he can have a decent second half to the season and really push on and help Newcastle United not only qualify for Europe but win, their first trophy. That for me would be fantastic, and he would leave a legacy. But I think Newcastle will be looking at replacing him, probably in the summer. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't go in the summer because I just think Newcastle will increase their squad, will bring other players in, and will bring better players in than ESM. Going to ask you about what I asked about the World Cup. I mean, that was a great final, by the way, yesterday.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It's every bloke's dream watching a game like that. 80% first half was like all France, and then Mbappe just shows his quality, doesn't he? 5 minutes of brilliant, 2 goals, bang, bang. But it's a good game.
I mean, I did have a laugh at India Willoughby on Twitter. Like, I mean, she often comments on football, and to be honest, she went, has Mbappe turned up? And it was a tweet that hadn't aged well 10, 15 minutes later when he scored 2 goals and then went on to complete his hat trick. So, but I mean, it was great. It was fantastic. But the question I asked earlier was just about penalties. Is that a fair way to finish a World Cup final? Because they tried to bring the golden goal in a while back, and I thought the golden goal was great. I enjoyed it. I think teams have to go at you because I always think that's a more exciting way. I just think it's awful for those people who have to carry that guilt, for their lives, really, that they didn't win the World Cup because they missed a penalty.
I like to tell you shit out, Steve. Like, I'm not a fan of the goal. I'm not a fan of the goal because I see it because they scored and France when they scored got another chance and they got his goal. You know what I mean? Like in the last 5 minutes of time added on in the first send off extra time, they got another goal, and it just put drama onto the game itself. And I agree, it's pressure and all, but it's nothing better than that. Like, and I like if you win, you lose, but it's just great drama as to see who's going to win or nerves on the day. And you seen the Aston Villa keeper. What he was doing, holding the ball away from to wind them up. You know what I mean? Just it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Barry says, but Steve, the RG goalie, got a chance to shine. He was amazing. Yeah, he got beaten as well, didn't he, for his bad sportsmanship?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, listen, it was a great final. Good to see Argentina win. I never thought I'd see it the day when I said that, but I didn't want, I definitely did not want France to win that, even though they beat us. But yeah, that's just the way it is.
The other good thing is these Southgate's he's steering, unfortunately for England. At least Eddie Howe didn't get linked with that sort of job. So like that's probably a good thing. What we wanted to hear, and our behalf.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about tonight, mate?
That's it, mate. See, I'm going to give tomorrow. Are you there tomorrow?
Yes, I'll be there tomorrow, mate. So we'll probably bump into each other. What's your thoughts and your prediction on tomorrow then? Because I mean, it was a tough game at the start of the season. Eddie Howe did touch on it in his press conference today. Obviously, just talking, in depth about, the Newcastle performance last time was a little subdued. He did say that they won't be underestimated in Bournemouth whatsoever, and it's been treated very much like a Premier League game. But what's your take on tomorrow? How do you see it going?
I think they'll be up for it tomorrow. Like full house. The players need to get my motivation back badly because against Chelsea we're on a high. With the internationals break coming in, that's like they would have lost a little bit. So hopefully they'll turn up and be up for it. And Eddie Howe will name a strong team tomorrow. And I think Wilson will be playing. So because you can't lie on Wood, but it's I'm going for 2-1-3-1 tomorrow. That's what I fancy. I'm going to Leicester as well, so I'm looking for a Boxing Day.
Good stuff. Well, Steve Middleman says Bournemouth are suffering with a supposed virus. Not heard that, mate. So if that's true, that can only help Newcastle's cause if there's a few of their star players missing. But we will wait and see. All right, mate. Well, thanks for jumping on, Darren. We will see you tomorrow and look forward to seeing you then, mate. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah, good to have Darren on. If you want to jump on, the link is in the chat. And it is Vince next. How are you, mate?
All right. Hi, how are you, Steve?
Very good, mate. Good to see you. And World Cup yesterday. What did you make of that?
Fantastic, mate. I mean, like, 'cause I've always been a Messi fan. I always thought he was brilliant, and I wanted him to do it. But for me, I don't even think France should be in the final. We were better than them, and Morocco completely outplayed them. They were just unlucky, and then they were there. And then for the first 70 minutes, you think, well, they just offered nothing. But then, like, Mbappe started up and then made it a great final. But it was it was fantastic, mate. Brilliant.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I agreed with Eddie Howe. It was one of them games where you could potter on and do something in the background. It didn't have your eyes. It didn't have your eyes for best part of an hour, and then it just suddenly just went into overdrive. I mean, it was probably because Argentina looked as if they had such a control over the game. 2-0 up, cruising, and then that penalty was given, and suddenly Mbappe scores, and you think, "Oh, hold on a minute. There's a bit of time left here." And then within a minute, he gets it back to 2-2, and that just changed the whole, the whole focus of the game. Fantastic, great to see, and an extra half an hour as injury time gives you the drama as well. Do you agree with the penalties, though? Are you a penalties fan?
Well, like I kind of agreed with you with golden goal pre-VAR, but imagine it now: you score a golden goal, then you've got to wait another 2 minutes to celebrate to see if someone's won the World Cup till VAR makes a decision.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's open to interpretation, I guess, and it's everybody's got different opinions. I just think penalties are just so cruel. It's got nothing to do with England suffering at the hands of penalty shootouts. It's not that. I just think the World Cup final, the most prestigious football trophy in the world, gets settled on spot kicks after all that time and effort to get there. It's the same as any cup competition. I just think, golden goal, teams have got to go out. You've got to go at it. And I think extra time sometimes can be gruesomely painful because clearly the teams, aren't going to gamble because they know there's a penalty shootout at the end of it. I mean, it was the polar opposite yesterday, by the way, because both teams went hammer and tongs and went for it because they didn't want to take penalties. But yeah, it's lots of people got different opinions on that. As for Newcastle, You'll have probably heard me little review there from Eddie Howe's press conference.
Yeah.
Didn't really learn a great deal. We don't know, what his starting lineup's going to be, of course, until tomorrow. But anything you want to see on Newcastle, Vince?
Just I'm looking forward to begin again. The World Cup. Just it's been a weird time. His Christmas having the World Cup run. It's been weird, and then having the break at the football, especially how well we've been doing, and the gap and all that. But I've had no worries because we had a gap in the summer and we came back. We came back from that really well, and now I'm looking forward to the cup game, and I think because the way we've been, the defense has been better than the last time we faced Bournemouth. All the team seems to have been improved since then. I think we'll do like a 2-0 yesterday. Tomorrow I think we'll do well.
What's your thoughts on ESM? I'm just reading your comment there. ESM can be class at times, but we need consistency, and Howe needs to rely on the players to do the job. But can we fully rely on him? Blue Rhythm Boy says, I think Bruce would have treated him like Letizia was at Southampton. Just pass to ESM once you get the ball tactics. Also let him get away with murder in training. Blue Rhythm Boy also said, I agree, Steve. I think he's been told to pass more by Eddie Howe and he's not executing it right. He might not be Howe's bag. And Andrew said he was at the game, said he didn't do himself any favours. He's been improving. And on Saturday, it looked like he was back to his old ways. So ESM was tracking back on Saturday, says Steve. John also says the time to judge ESM is at the end of the season. Let's see what he contributes. Personally, I think he'll play a positive part between now and then. So lots of different opinions about ESM, Vince. I mean, do you think he's in the last chance saloon at the club? Do you think, that John's right? The second half of the season is going to be crucial for his future at the club?
No, definitely. I think so. Jordan give him this bit, but it's like it says that we need consistency. Look at all the other players who've stepped up and are giving them consistency through Longstaff and everything. Everyone's stepping up, and that Eddie Howe needs to be able to trust these players. And ESM is just like it says. He's I think he just doesn't know what he wants to do, where he wants to run on, pass, or he's going to pass it, or he's going to shoot. He's getting in his own head and all that. I think he needs to just try and settle down. But I definitely think, John, I think this is if he doesn't step it up and all that, I think in the summer, I think definitely it'll go.
Yeah. Just getting back to the World Cup, that's an interesting point, Stephen, and I don't know the answer. He says Argentine keeper kicked the ball away, so ref books him. Penalty is taken and missed. Could the referee not have had the penalty retaken because the keeper's actions caused the miss? Possibly. You need to check the FIFA rule book for that.
It wasn't but it had settled down. The ball wasn't on the spot. Then the ball was on the spot, and then it was ready to go. There's always a bit of that in the game. You're not going to stop that. That's always going to happen. Just that Martinez is a bit better at the cheeky the way he threw the ball away and all that. I don't think so. Yeah.
Disappointing that Isaac's been out so long. He's back soon and firing like we know he can. I mean the Isaac injury as well. It's frustrating, Vince, isn't it?
It is, especially when you see him at Liverpool, just the way he went on, can take on, can finish. He's definitely good. I've seen him a bit for Sweden and all. He's definitely a good player. So it's just behind the doors. I mean, I know, I've just seen the comment by Andrew where the Darth Vader outfit. Not tonight, Andrew. It was Batman last week anyway. So
Santa the week before.
Okay, and that's next Saturday as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit. We know we need that cover for Wilson if he gets, and that's what brought in Isaac. So great and all that. And then it has been a little bit frustrating, but we don't know. Is Eddie Howe just making sure? I mean, he obviously wants to keep him for the Premier League and all that. Doesn't want to waste him coming back in a friendly and that and getting injured straight away and things like that. So. Is Eddie Howe just trying to keep things a bit close to his chest and doesn't want to give things away? He won't give things away tomorrow night. His plans and that. Is Isaac is he thinking, right, okay, they won't say it and then bring him in? You just don't know at the moment. It's a bit up in the air.
BT says Bournemouth players are affected by a bug, with O'Neill conceding that 8 to 10 of his stars were not able to train. Gary O'Neill says Barry has admitted he'll have to make a number of last-minute selection calls for Bournemouth's Carabao Cup tie at Newcastle after a virus has swept through his squad. How are the lads?
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. And Blue Rhythm Boy getting back to the penalty says both teams are likely to be similar levels. Steve Penn's might be the only way. Some would play for a year B2 evenly matched. I like penalties. So yeah, there's a lot of people saying I like penalties. Stephen Parker, good to see you the other day. He says Newcastle's going to have to be careful tomorrow as they've just had a takeover as well, so players could try to shine before the transfer window. And Barry says Newcastle will turn to cryotherapy chamber. Benton deal with a packed Christmas programme. Despite the plummeting temperatures, Newcastle United will take the plunge in temperatures of -100. Poor Bruno. Before I come to the ads, Napoli have insisted that they have no interest in selling, and this is a great name, isn't it? Kvaratskhelia. Is that right?
Yeah.
God,
I'll let you try that, Steve.
Amid speculation, well, again, he's been linked with us all the way through.
Yeah.
The World Cup. Again, it's interesting. We'll be looking at that from the perspective of the transfer show in January. So I'm sure we'll have lots of talk about him. And lastly, on ASM, ASM's an enigma. He could be another player whose talent might not be able to be unlocked at this point. Yeah, you never know. And
could be true.
Mal the Grinch doesn't like his diving antics. He's also glass to injury prone. It is time to sell. Lots of interesting points on that. Anything else you want to bring up tonight then, Vince?
No, not to think of, but I think why ESM wears all them bandages, he's sponsored by Boots. Like says But yeah, that's it for me, Steve, mate.
Good to see you, mate. Take care.
You too. Take care. See you. Bye.
Bye. Good to have Vince on. We're going to have a quick ad break, then it's Kev. A big thanks to all our sponsors. First off, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at thegohd.com. And thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces. They are handmade in Cumbria, and you can find more information out on their website, mrvickies.co.uk. And if you want to order any, email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Big thanks to Blowhole Brewery, a new beer made on Tyneside. The cans are all designed in the colours of Newcastle United strips from days gone by. Black and white there, the purple and blue, and the good old-fashioned blue from the entertainers' days. But get more information on the Blowhole Brewery range, such as Geordie Juice, from blowholebrewery.co.uk. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things and video side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who do our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the show, then all you need to do is click the subscribe button below. You can also hit the thumb up, which does us a favor, by liking the video, and click share to your social media, such as Twitter and Facebook. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and the rest. And if you want to contribute to the show, use the QR code. It takes you straight to the membership pack and you can join the channel. What do you get for your membership pack? You get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. You can also make a donation by hitting the $sign in the chat tonight. We also give you something for free if you subscribe to the show. To get your car sticker, email john@nufcmatters.com and he will post you one out. We also support the food bank on this show. And if you want to make a virtual donation to the food bank, then go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. On our website, we've got lots of t-shirts, cups, pens, you name it, memorabilia if you want to buy it and support the show. For Christmas, we have the Bruno Christmas jumper, which is selling rather well. And we'll have the bobble hats, Play Like Almiron, Bruno's Magic, and Bruno's 39 and Joe Linton's J7. Get yourself to nufcmatters.com to buy them today. If you want to buy people a ticket for one of our events next year, we've got an evening with Steve Howe, which is Friday the 24th of February at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are £50 from nufcmatters.com or newcastlelegends.com. And you can also buy them on voucher before Christmas. Get somebody a bargain and a nice Christmas present. Peter Beardsley is on the 10th of February at St. Dom's Catholic Club in Newcastle. Tickets available direct from the venue. And for this one, Friday the 2nd of June next year at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth, 6:30 start. An evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark, and John Beresford. To book tickets, contact Natalie at heelandtour.org.uk or visit their website, heelandtour.org.uk/events. If you're looking for a Christmas present and people like a book, then get yourself NME from the Bender Squad to the Gremlins, or the last remaining copies of Black or White, No Grey Areas, Lee Clark's autobiography, and you can get them from www.badboysbooks.net. And getting back to the comments, John says, Howe saving Isaac is a surprise inclusion in one of the games soon. I'm sure. You never know. You never know. Don says he could be right. And Andrew just says, I hope so. Howe keeping him under wraps. It'll be interesting to see when he comes back. Certainly will be. That would be a bit of kidology on his behalf. Blue Rhythm Boy says, also left back, do you expect Target to claim that spot back now? Definitely not, mate. Not after that performance at the weekend. I don't think anybody did it. I don't think many players did themselves any favours in that game. I've got to be perfectly honest. I don't think Eddie Howe will have seen anything to want to change it. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Lascelles starts alongside Bruno, and I'd be very surprised if it's not Trippier at right back and Dan Burn at left back. Will Miggy play tomorrow? He was suffering from muscle fatigue. Potentially. We don't know who the pre-season friendlies were, the kick around in the training ground either. There was rumours coming out that potentially there might have been an injury or two there, but that's all it is. It's rumours. There's nothing getting out of the club these days. So, from our perspective, I just think there's, the only way we'll ever find out is when the team is announced. That's it. Okay, I'm going to bring Kev in. Good evening, mate.
How you doing, mate? You good?
Very good, mate. Very good. How are you?
Full house. Mom flew in yesterday from England and immigration and took forever. And, just then my other in-laws were in town. Just a house full of people around this time. It was just crazy, mate. So it's nice to be on for a little respite and have a bit of chat.
Fantastic, mate. Did you manage to catch the friendly at the weekend then on TV?
I did, yeah. I had to get up rather early, being 5 hours behind and all the rest of it. But I sat there and watched it, and I kind of, which I didn't really, to be honest. I thought it was a bit of a bore, to be fair, but it was a typical friendly. But hey, a win's a win. Just keep that momentum moving.
You've nailed it there. Typical friendly, wasn't it? But
yeah.
I mean, any standouts for you or anything that you want to say about any of the players?
Yeah, Mac Target's own goal, because it was a great finish when he slid in. I mean, no, because he said he put out a tweet and he said, "Yeah, back out and run now." And I was almost retweeted or I responded and said, "Yeah, but you slid in, putting in the wrong net, just for a bit of banter." I don't know. I think Eddie's trying to figure out, obviously starting 11 tomorrow, getting players minutes and stuff like that. But I think it was just a good run out all the way around. Players needed it, resting certain players, being just a clever manager, like I've said before. With the Wilsons of the world. Not playing him, not really worried about that. Like you said yesterday on the professionals, Kieran Trippier just wants to play football. I mean, he could play for a Sunday League side. He'd be quite happy to do that. He just wants to play, and so that is what that is. But I was just more concerned with Jamal Lascelles. I'm rather concerned of the depth that we have there outside of Fabi Shaw and Sven Botman, to be honest. I just didn't think he looked comfortable at all, even though they give possession back to him quite comfortably. The ball went long. He just headed it, just to head it. He wasn't composed. It was just, that was the only real standout as a negative in the performance. But overall, I thought the first goal was a good goal, but we just didn't stamp the authority on the game like we normally do. It was just back to, we'll keep the possession. They'll give us the ball, and we'll try and, just ease our way into the game when it's not like a Carabao Cup or a Premier League game where we really need to put the second nail in the coffin to get that second goal and be more comfortable further. But yeah, it is what it is. They need games. That's the biggest thing. What we need, regardless who you play, who's in what position, whatever. I thought Karius might have started, but it's not a bad replacement. How Nick Pope stepping in between the sticks. So it is. We'll see what happens tomorrow and who we start 11 is.
Well, it's interesting. You said that, about Pope and Trippier. I mean, he covered in his press conference today, essentially saying that, Trippier and Pope both wanted to play. Bruno and Wilson, clearly wanted a little bit more time off. So, he's clearly listening to the, he'll be listening to the experts, and people who analyse, and those who look after the players' welfare, but also listening to the players, which is key. I've got to be honest. I thought Karius would have started yesterday. He may start tomorrow. I mean, this is the thing. You can never second guess Eddie Howe's team. It's interesting what you say about Lascelles. I don't think he had a particularly bad game. I don't particularly think, even though the 8th place in La Liga, Rayo Vallecano played that well. I mean, in the first 15 minutes, they could have been blown away. Newcastle just seem to be capable now of if they get one, they get another quite quickly, and they can finish teams off, which is something we've not had for many, many years. But I thought Lascelles, the only time he looked uncomfortable was when he had time on the ball. And that's always been the way. He's always been a panicker, a flapper. He can never, give him the ball at his feet and some time to think about it. He's terrible.
Right.
A ball coming in and you've got to clear it and get it out of there. Lascelles will do that all day for you. And he'll run through a brick wall for you. And he's a grafter, but he's way down the pecking order in that centre half category. However, he may well just play against Bournemouth. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't play Dan Burn again and Botman and Lascelles and probably Trippier. I think that'll be your back 4.
Yeah.
And I think he might go with Karius in goal. He may well.
He may well do, because again, I watched the game in Saudi. I got a bit of a dodgy YouTube type Arabic stream, whatever. And which was quite interesting listening to that commentary, because it is what it is. But I just wanted to see the game just to see how we played. But I was, and who I spoke to, I said, I'm really comfortable with Karius back there. He just looks accomplished, knows what he's doing, plays with his feet, and he's a big guy. He's a big lad. He's different. He's a different type of keeper. The Pope's gangly and long, got good range, but Karius seems rather really athletic. And it seems to command that area what you need to do. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's in there. Again, I agree with the back 4 and agree with that. That's what my comment was about Lascelles, is he's got too much time to think about it. And that's his downfall. Probably, again, a lovely lad, run club captain, does everything what you are told he's told to do, which you want. But he's just a step below, a couple of steps below what we really need and what we're looking for. But hey, I'm not Eddie Howe and playing players who I think should be playing. But midfield is going to be interesting. Who he's going to play in there? I thought Joe Willock just ran his legs off. And with Sean Longstaff's great finish, he's getting on the score sheet again, even though it's a friendly. Now we need to continue that tomorrow. I didn't know about the Bournemouth illness stuff, so that should be interesting to see how they approach the game. Is it going to be the same as where they came up here and just sat in and frustrated us, and it's up to us to break them down? So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The defensive side, defensively, I'm not too worried about how we're going to play. It's more on the attacking, on the front foot, how we're going to break Bournemouth down tomorrow. That's the issue I have. Yes, I've seen Chris Wood run. You praise him. He's running around. Yeah, he's again target man. Again, you could change tact and go long, play long into him and play players off of him, which I think might, surprise Bournemouth, because you just don't know. But we'll see what happens tomorrow, and it's going to be very interesting to see who he picks based on what we have coming up on next Monday. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, Howe said he wouldn't take this, he wouldn't take Bournemouth for granted. He's going to show them the respect that they deserve. And, and also mentioned that it was a rather subdued performance against Bournemouth last time out. I mean,
yes.
They came up here. It wasn't a great game. They left here with a point. So, we can't underestimate them.
Oh, absolutely not. They're a Premier League side. They're there for a reason, so they've got, don't know too much about them, but good Premier League levelish players, mid to lower half. And Gary O'Neill's done well to turn that ship around, because that was sinking in a hurry. And he's done well to stabilise them. But again, I think they'll be very difficult to beat. It's just the attacking nous that we'll have to have that little bit of extra quality. And I don't know who's going to provide that. Because again, I agree with you with the ASM. I think he just ran down one-way streets on what day was Saturday, in my opinion, and there was no end product. And I've said that previously, that there was no end product. Even his shots, yes, he got a shot off, whatever, but I mean, I didn't really test the goalkeeper. To be honest, it was just because he had a shot. But I mean, from with his quality, he should really be scoring. But I don't know. It's just the final third element, which is going to be obviously make or break the cup tie and see who's going to go through.
Yeah, what's your prediction for that, then, mate?
I think we might sneak I'm not going to do a shoe payment. I'm not going to go 3-1 because I don't think we'll have that impetus. We might. Hey, we never know. But I think it'll be 2-0. Goal in each half. Yeah, and it'll be a methodical performance. Again, minutes into legs and move on to next Monday.
Okay, Mr. Anderson says it was good to meet him the other day, Stephen. He goes, I think the Rod Stewart and the Jam selections at the Dog and Parrot Bro more entertainment than the friendly big up DJ Wraith. Yeah, I enjoyed myself on Saturday, mate. It was good to meet you. Roger says, anyone else think Wood was dropping back a bit too much in the weekend? What do you reckon about that, Kev?
Yes and no, because of just the way the pace of play that we were playing at. It seemed like, again, it was methodical and it was slow. So obviously he wants to drop in and like Harry Kane does because he wants the ball, and bring players in. But, I tell my centre forwards who's playing as a number 9, stay high, stay there, be patient, and we'll get there. But the forward ball's got to be a lot better. The entry ball into the final third's got to be better to playing like with a Chris Wood, because that's what he feeds off. That's his trade, and getting balls wide, getting them into the box. And again, that's like I said before, the quality element, and how can we actually unpick that low block, what they're going to be playing more than likely. If he drops in and then he's just going to fill gaps and fill space, which he doesn't need to do. But I mean, I just tell him to just stand on the defender's toes and just pin them up higher and drop them deeper and see what happens.
He's not brought in to do anything than batter defenders into submission. That's what Chris Wood's there to do. Brian Parker, I haven't seen this, by the way. He says the French press are alleging that Argentina's third goal should have been chalked off because there was more players on the field of play than allowed. Sour grapes.
Good old French. I didn't even see the extra time, so I can't. No comment. I had to go working, so I missed the best bits, I think. Again, but I mean, hey, look, it's the World Cup final. You're going to always get that bitterness at the end of it all, and what woulda, shoulda, coulda type of thing. This happened, that happened, whatever. Hey, look. They made it. They made the big dance. It is, they got there. They just didn't have the final quality again to see Argentina off.
Are you a fan of penalties, Kev?
Yes and no. I've been involved in many of them, missed in them, scored winners in them, both on coaching sidelines and on playing side of it. I do and I don't. Again, it's I like the psychology of it. I like the drama of it. But again, with what you said earlier about the golden goal, I think, this is for me. If it was an extra time or a golden goal, there's got to be a risk factor, a risk element, and like you said, and again, it's subjective opinion, but I would stick with penalties. I didn't like the golden goal and the silver goal, then golden goal, and whatever other goal we're gonna have. But because you could play 90 minutes, and 91 minute, next minute later, that's it, game over, and you haven't got that opportunity to get back into the game. So I can say it both ways. I can say it either way. But penalties for me, just for the dramatics.
Stephen Armstrong says, would we risk Karius in case it goes to pens? I still think he'll get a run out. And I know somebody earlier in the chat said, I don't think he'll play Karius because he played Wood at the weekend. I mean, there's arguments for both. I guess Eddie Howe will decide who is best adapted to this game. And I think you look at it, he did say in the press conference today, he'd play his strongest team, and his strongest team is Pope and goal, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, unless there's other reasons, other ideas, what he's come across with tactically or whatever's going on within the camp, like you said, in terms of recovery periods from World Cups and other little niggles, muscle injury, this or that. Yeah, play your strongest 11. Whoever you got available, and that's the team you're going to go with. That's the team you're going to go with, what you believe at that moment in time. And again, who are we to judge Eddie Howe from what he's done with his decision making so far?
Steve's a bit cynical on the old Isaac statement today. He says, assessing Isaac day to day, just say he's knackered till February. I mean, I think Mitch described it the other night when we were on the professionals. He said he was explaining to us that it's probably been a second degree tear. The initial assessment said first degree tear, but second-degree tear. Now, I'm no medical expert, but I know that the second-degree tear is worse. And
Yeah.
and clearly they've just been very cautious and very careful. They've spent a lot of money on this player. The last thing they want to do is put him out too early and end his first season.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know, bit of a sports scientist. That's what my degree's in. Yeah, that's going to take a little bit longer to recover because it's just further extended the muscle belly and into a worse injury, obviously. But I would just keep him, do what they're doing with him. I mean, like Mitch said about the New Orleans Saints, Michael, the Thomas guy who plays down there, and we get every bit of information, what goes on. We know what's happening, why you're injured, because it's this constant reporting of that sport. You get sick of it, to be honest, but at least you know, but at the same time, understand in football, well, it's a niggle, this and that, but, I would just keep him under wraps, get him on grass when he needs to get on grass, get him kicking the ball, because depending on where it is within the thigh, that could, you got four muscles in there, which are the major, where you generate power from, and that's a major kicking muscle. So even if he's just struck a ball and it's recovered, and if he strikes a ball like a long distance pass or a shot or whatever, then it could potentially go again. It's that volatile of a muscle. So just to, wait until the end of middle end of January, see where he's at. Then we've got to, again, like Mitch said, and I completely agree, you've got more games now at the end of the season, the run-in, if you will, to compete in Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, whatever it is, and it's going to take a toll, so we'll need the squad. So I would just, yes, he cost £63 million, whatever it was, but at the same time, I would just let the medical staff do their job, let the muscle heal properly, get him on grass, just doing light ball work and this and that, and then gradually over time get him into full training, and then use him when we need him. But I think we're quite comfortable where we are at the minute with that, even without him. We've got where we are without him pretty much. So that's just my little thing. So I would just keep it as it is. Just let him.
A big thank you to you, Mr. Pocket, or Mrs. Pocket, for giving us that information earlier, well, your opinion earlier. Steve Middlemiss, you are right. A muscle tear never heals the same, normally needs an operation. And this one from Stevie Runforth, he says, "Hi, Steve, been a while. How's things? All good, mate. It's what's going on with ASM. He has another knock again." Yeah, Eddie Howe played it down in the press conference today, said that it wasn't too serious, and sometimes injuries can look worse on the day, but when they have time to recover, that things can look a lot better. So clearly not as bad as we thought it was. Barry asks, do you think our young Australian signing will get into the squad for the second half of the season? He played at the weekend, Barry, and he had an assist to his name. So I genuinely believe that they're buying him as a potential fringe player. He's certainly world class. He's been the World Cup. So, from our perspective, we're signing somebody who should be higher than an academy player, somebody who's, probably have an opportunity to go in. He's just got to hit the ground running when he gets here, Kev, hasn't he?
Yeah, and just integrate him into the squad a little bit and get him acclimated to how Newcastle United we want him to play. Where's he going to play for us? Again, that's a nice problem to have, and I haven't seen too much of him. But he sounds like a real forward player, centre forward, whatever you want to call it, across the three. Again, it's just another attacking option that could bring something different. But for me, whenever he gets into the club, is he into the club already? Did he join it? Is he here already?
Yeah, I mean, basically, he comes in January, so it'll be.
I would potentially not just put him out on a short-term loan deal. Just to get him English football. I mean, Australian is different. It's a different type of environment. But I mean, I'm not saying he's the strongest lad in the world, but at the same time, you got to look at it where can let him get not kicked and play against men a little bit and get his feet firmly on the ground somewhere on loan, League One, somewhere like that, local, close by or whatever, just something where he can get game time playing, because I don't think you'll probably get that at the back end of the year. And then get him into the pre-season in the summer, get him a full pre-season within the first team squad, and then have a look at him fully next season.
Mark, you've got a good point. He says, how did the medical team miss this? Could they do it again? I mean, it's a lot of money to spend. Did they miss it? Was it an issue before he got here? I mean, there was talk that he did it in the playing for Sweden, wasn't it? And I mean, potentially it could be something we've missed, but it may not be. It's hypothetical, that.
Yeah, I mean, he could have partially recovered, just pushed his recovery not too hard, but enough to where it wasn't fully recovered, and then it'll go further again. Like I was saying, the muscle didn't recover fully and grown stronger. Or you could have just done it in the gym, done it like with weights or leg press stuff or anything to just generate strength for that, and it could have gone there. It could have made it worse depending on the activity what they've done. So I wouldn't say missed it. I think it's just one of those. It's a muscle injury. You can't, the finely tune these players. So any small little thing, any small little twinge could be it. It could, like a hamstring, they could be out for 6 weeks. Or whatever the muscle injury is, ligament injury is. I don't think they missed it at all. I just think they've maybe just done some certain activity and it's gone, or kicked the ball, or done something. Good old ass stub a toe at home, and I feel like I'm going to be out for 6 months with a broken toe. You know what I mean? So it's something like silly as that, but it could be well true. So I think that's just subjective and potential. Could have, maybe, possibly.
Yeah. Well, you've already given us your prediction for tomorrow night. Like, it'll be an interesting game. It's the biggest game of the season so far. Let's hope that Newcastle United can come out victorious, get into the quarterfinals of the cup, setting ourselves nicely up for the Premier League. Obviously, we'll have a Premier League game before. We'll have two actually before we do the next fans forum. So, how do you see these two games going over the Christmas period?
Who got after Leicester? I can't remember. Who got after Leicester?
We've got two corkers over the Christmas period. We've got Leicester on Boxing Day, which will be live on Amazon Prime,
right.
And then we've got Leeds United on New Year's Eve at home, 3 o'clock kickoff.
Leicester, I think, was again. I think they'll score 2-1 win, and I think at home, Leeds are on the up. Jesse Marsh has done a pretty decent job there, even though he's Americanized the club a little bit in his antics and whatever. But I'll go 3-0 at home against Leeds, and I'll go 2-1 win away at Leicester.
Fantastic. And our next fans forum will be 2nd of January, which will be the day before Newcastle go for a potential, I say, top of the table clash against Arsenal.
We beat them 7-3 like they done us 7-3 a year ago.
Kev, thanks very much for joining us, mate. Have a fantastic Christmas with the family. See you in the new year, mate.
You too, mate. Merry Christmas, everybody back home, and have a great one.
Take care, mate. Thanks for jumping on. Bye. Don't forget, subscribing to this channel. Couldn't be easier. Go down there. There's a little NUFC Matters circular badge there. Just roll your mouse over it, or whatever you need to do with any of your computers, your phones, whatever. And if you just go to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Dead easy. I looked at the analytics of this channel a while back, and only 50% of the people watching had actually subscribed. If we got to 100%, we'd get to that 50,000 mark very quickly. Since I started explaining this at a different part of the show, people have started to realize how to do it. It's free. It costs you nothing. There's no inconvenience, but it does help the channel grow. We've pulled in an extra 200 subscribers in the last couple of weeks just by me explaining that. So please, if you do one thing for us on this channel and you do enjoy the content, we're on 7 nights a week, lots of variety, lots of different shows. Hit the subscription button and let's try and hit the 50,000 mark. It'd be great to do it before the end of the year. I'll do a little check now and tell you exactly where we're at. We are at 49,485. So we are 515 subscribers away from hitting the 50,000 mark. It would be great to do it this year. Please spread the word. If you click share and share it to your social media, your Facebooks, your Twitters, even your LinkedIn, just a little recommendation. If you're a Newcastle fan, hashtag NUFC, follow this page. It'd be great to do it. You can even share it to Instagram. But just give it a share. Pass it on to your mates. Stick it in your Newcastle United WhatsApp groups. It'll be a big help to us. It would be great to hit the 50,000 mark before the turn of the year. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks, as always, to the moderators as well. Absolutely great. The forum and it, like Saturday, managing to meet Mr. Anderson. Great to see him. A lot of people saying hello, and a lot of people coming in. It's great. Nelly in remission. Good luck with your battles, but thank you for subbing. Joe is good. Joe will be back in the new year, Tom. Just had a bit of time out, and whenever anybody asks for for time out, from my perspective, it's always it's always taken for granted that they can have the time off that they need. So there we go. Merry Christmas. God bless you and your family as well. Yes, hopefully, mate, we can do it. And I constantly endorse the stream. Thank you, Tim. Great to have you all on. I'm back in the morning, 10 o'clock, live with Ross Gregory. So hit the subscribe button. I'm going to stick it up now. Hit the reminder, hit the bell, and that will be it. No problem. Thank you, Nelly in remission. Take care. Good night. God bless. Have a great night tonight, whatever you're doing.